introduce you to some people, and I don't know if you know them. Do you know these guys? How about if I put this there? Some of you might recognize the late Kenneth Lay, former CEO of Enron, as well as Jeff Skilling, who's actually doing prison time in the United States. He is hoping that his prison sentence is going to be overturned by the American Supreme Court. It was one of the biggest frauds in the American history, of course, before all this latest debacle that's been going on. That was a few years ago, but let's bring it back to Canada. And how about Alan Eagleson, the first person to have the Order of Canada revoked? He was disbarred as a lawyer because of his double dealing with the Players Association and the owners. And he was also, a week before he was going to be kicked out of the Hockey Hall of Fame, he actually resigned. He was fined $1 million and he did jail time in Canada. If we go to recent stuff, we've got entertainment, Garth Drabinsky in the middle up top, and then you've got Myron Gottlieb on the left. It was just a few months ago that they were sentenced to prison 7.5 years respectively for their fraudulent ways of trying to get investors to see Live Event Entertainment as a better company than in fact it was. They're appealing their decision. If we go from there, people are still familiar with the sponsorship scandal. Paul Coffin was the first person involved in that, and he got a prison sentence, but he didn't serve time. Jean Brault got that distinction. Chuck Guite was the mastermind behind the whole process as the civil servant. He's appealing his sentence. Jean Lafleur came back from La Isla Bonita, remember that from Madonna? And off Belize, and he actually did his time, and the government is looking for his $1 million plus that he should be paying back, but he says, I'm a dishwasher in a Quebec restaurant, I don't have any money. And then, of course, one of the most recent and infamous people, Bernie Madoff, he's in prison in the United States already, unlike Canada, where you only have to serve 1/6 of your sentence if you're white-collar criminal. He's been in prison for a while, and they never expect that he will actually get out because of the Ponzi scheme that he actually came up with, one of the most infamous. I actually met a person in Victoria who had to move back to Canada from Maui because he lost $3 million on Bernie Madoff's scheme. I thought I'd never meet anyone who actually was involved in that. So the interesting thing is, when I suddenly put all these people up here, is there anything that comes to mind? Yeah, look, probably at this time of the day, you don't expect this coming from me, but I got to tell you, all white men are crooks. And it's a sad reality. I mean, I know maybe it's easier coming from a white man, so that I can actually say that. But the interesting thing is that I read the papers every day. I subscribe to the Globe and Mail, so I read Report on Business, section, and if not every day, and I don't exaggerate, 2 or 3 times a week, I'll come up with other examples in which there are crooked guys who they're either in jail, they no longer can be directors on companies, they can't share trades, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. 99.9% of them are white, and they're white guys. And the interesting thing is that even though we have these in front of us every single solitary day, how many times would you ever think, let's say someone coming new to work at your healthcare center or your hospital, you'd be looking at that person, or if someone, let's say in your home, you wanted your roof done, you look at that person and you go, look, don't take this personally, but your people don't have a very good track record, and I'm afraid I just can't trust you. You white guys you're just crooks, really. I'm sorry to say that, but just try not to take it personally. I mean, how many times, even though it's thrown in our face every single day, would we ever set that up as a stereotype of our own? And yet, someone who's different from us, from skin color, from ethnicity, from language, if something bad happens with that person, you remember that. If it happens 2 times from someone of that same background, that's set for life. And it doesn't even have to happen to you if, in fact, let's say your brother-in-law, got his kitchen done and it was a shoddy job from those people. We hold on to that. So the interesting thing is that stereotypes are very easy for us to get into, and they're usually about people who are different than us. If you also want to make some simple changes or some positive difference in your workplace, just try to recognize your own prejudice and stereotypes, which we all have. We're not bad people because of it, because we're all brought up with it. And one of the things that I've said, and I wrote this in the book, is that our own prejudices form the greatest barrier to creating an inclusive working environment. And if we can work on that, don't beat yourself up. I don't, even though things pop into my head every day. But just sort of think, okay, what can I do to make sure that this person in front of me, regardless of what I was brought up with, or regardless of what the last person who was similar to them was like, how can I make sure that I've given that person the opportunity that they deserve that I would want myself? And if we can do that, I believe that that goes a long way to doing some simple changes, some positive changes.